All right, everybody, what's going on? This is Dan French here. This is the French Workbench podcast. I'm in studio with Mike Keeler. He's a financial planner. He runs a company, Peak Financial Solutions. And Mike, this is your first time on the show. How you doing today?
Oh, it's my first time. I really enjoyed you asking me here. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So a lot of people, when I talk with them, they want to know about financial planning and just really, do I need it or don't I need it? There's a lot of things going on with COVID and everything. So it's good to have you on today. We're going to talk a lot about if somebody out there is looking to get financial planning, or maybe even you do with the stock market as well.
We do.
You do, right? So we're going to talk a lot about that today. I'm also in studio here with Brett Jenny. He's a realtor from Simply Vegas. And Brett, thanks for coming back, man. I know you
of course. You
were here on Saturday hammering it out about Bitcoin, making it happen. So Brett did a good job, man. He was really good on Saturday. And, I appreciate you coming out today, and everybody's going to, benefit from this information.
Yeah.
Anything going new with you today?
Got a new buyer in the contract, new homes, just flying off the shelves.
Yeah. And
so I was busy basically this entire weekend showing.
Yeah.
From 8 a.m. until 6 p.m., both Saturday and Sunday. And then Saturday, I took that break to come down here and do the podcast.
That's awesome, man. And, Brett, you're a trooper, man. I always told that to Chuck. It's in the team. You're a trooper. So
thanks.
Appreciate you coming down. So, Mike, let's go back to you. I want to talk a lot about with clients out there that you deal with. There's a lot of people that are looking to get some financial direction. I was looking at something the other day, and it said like 70% of people out there living paycheck to paycheck. I don't know if that's accurate. I'm not sure. But do you have a lot of clients coming to you that they're not always on the high end where they have a ton of assets, or maybe they just have a lot of money in the bank? What if somebody out there, maybe has 50,000 or 25,000? They're saying, how do I get started on that?
Well, that's the important thing, is just to get started. The biggest enemy you've got is procrastination.
Yeah.
The average person tends to start financial planning in their 40s. And, that means we've got some catch up to do. That can be a big challenge. I'd love it if everybody could start their Roth IRA when they get their first job. If they can learn to live without 10% of their income and save that, they're going to really do well. But if they've even got $25,000-$50,000, that's enough to get going. You need to start somewhere.
So, Brett, you're in your 40s, right?
Yeah. His scenario fits me to a T. Literally, I'm 44, and in real estate, some years were really well, some years weren't.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to have that consistency coming in. Sometimes you need money more than others, and say you don't have a closing that happens for a couple months. Now you're a couple months behind on bills. So then when you do get a good closing, you got to catch up to it and blah, blah. So long story of it, I finally was able to come to a pretty good ground here the last couple of years. And I've really just been at it for probably a couple of years now with saving and putting enough away. I'm,
Sure.
50K category around there. So
yeah, when you're living on a commission only, it's a lot more challenging because you need that next sale. And so your income isn't as regular. And yeah, we've seen the real estate market here. Yeah. It's up and down. It's all around. Holy cow. And so you do need a bigger cushion than the average person who's got a regular 9-to-5 job.
Yeah.
So if you're out there and you're looking to get started, okay, and, a lot of people, they're thinking, well, what do I invest in? We talked about Bitcoin. We talked about the stock market. And your advice on investing is, because there's different ways you can invest. You can invest, there's a lot of retirement accounts, right, that you can invest in, like especially company accounts. You can invest in. It's a very slow return. Maybe you want to be more secure that way. And then you also have aggressive ways where if you invest your money, maybe you get a bigger return or a bigger yield on that, right?
Right. Well, we need to separate the type of the account from the investment. You can have 401ks, Roth IRAs, traditional IRAs, or just individual investments, but they all can invest in the same type of thing. So you can pick an aggressive mutual fund or a very conservative mutual fund. And everybody's got their own risk tolerance. There's some people who watch the stock market go down 5% and they can't sleep. Well, then maybe you shouldn't be in it.
Yeah, not everybody should be trading.
Yeah.
You're a big trader though, right, Brett? You do a lot of trading during the day?
Yeah, but it's taken me about 3 years to get good about how I go about it. So it's not that I pick the winning stocks every time. I buy in levels now, and there's different ways to go about the trade and having a plan, most importantly. And that's something I never used to have.
Right.
And, there's a ton of charts and a lot of information out there you can follow, but I'm not so...
There's too much information.
Yes,
that's the problem.
That's exactly right. You're exactly right.
How many websites are there out there that'll teach you how to invest your money?
Yeah.
I regularly cruise them, and I'm trying to figure out what people are doing these days. And, I subscribe to, 10 of them now. And, it's just kind of interesting seeing how, this guy says buy Tesla, this guy says sell Tesla. And I'm like, well, nobody's really consistent in their recommendations.
Have you seen a big increase with people with COVID? Meaning, COVID's affected a lot of people. There's now people that maybe had a nest egg that they were going to invest. They're not working, or maybe they just don't want to because they want to put it and keep it in the bank. What is your situation with COVID? How's all that been kind of, a lot of people don't know what to do, especially in this time period. Do you have some information on maybe how to help people, still invest through this process,
Well, I recommend people invest regularly.
Yeah.
You put money away on a monthly basis, and you treat it like a bill, like your electric bill, your water bill, or your credit card bills. You pay that every single month, and you're putting money away. Now, the neat thing is if you've been doing that and you have a problem, well, you can take that money out.
Yeah.
So, having those savings there gives you that advantage and that cushion and kind of a sleep factor.
Mm-hmm. Brett, what about you, man? You've seen a lot of people that are struggling through, I wouldn't say struggling, but there's a lot of people that have been on the fence now because of COVID. I know last year we had a lot of people that were looking to buy homes and they were looking to invest their money, and they were putting that on the sidelines now saying, hey, we're not ready for that.
I'm seeing a lot of people who now have put that to the side and say, I want to buy real estate.
Yes.
I have some money here that I want to invest.
Why is that though?
Some of them have just been like they're pulling their money out of stocks and they're sticking in the real estate, and they all have their different reasons of where they're getting their information from and why they're saying whatever they are. But people who were sitting on the fence before this, probably in the last 6 months going until right now, are really pulling the trigger and getting it done now.
Yeah.
Now, are these income-producing properties or homes?
They're mostly people that are either moving here from California or New York, right?
Right. A lot of Californians.
But here's what we're finding out too, is, man, the amount of buyers between like 600 and 1 million right now is crazy. Mm-hmm. I've never seen that many buyers between that price point in my life.
Well, they can sell their California house.
So here's what they're doing. They're moving here and they're buying $900,000 property for themselves, and then they're buying like another $400,000 investment property on the side.
Wow.
Mike, do you have a lot of people that come in and they have tons of properties like that? How do you help somebody that has a lot of properties? Is there a way to strategically help them?
Well, one thing I always ask is, what's your return on this property?
Yeah.
And sometimes they don't know. If you've ever watched Shark Tank, they want to know, you got to know your numbers, right? And it just blows my mind that, I don't know how much I'm clearing on this rental. Well, are you making money or are you losing money? If you're losing money, you shouldn't be in that business.
You the same, Brett? I mean, you got a lot of people that are investment properties. Do you have a lot of people that are looking for investment properties right now with this whole COVID thing happening?
They're looking primarily for themselves, or they're looking for... So yeah, there are some of that, but it's primarily people moving here looking for themselves, or they're looking for a second home right now. For some reason, they're saying, hey, I'm not going to move here, but I want a house that I can live there for, or spend, a couple weeks every 2 months here or something like that. And that's all they're going to use it for, is maybe 3 months of the year. And they're not going to rent it out. They just want it for
or 6 months in a day. So they can be a Nevada resident.
Yeah. So that's basically he's moving here.
Well, so let's talk about if you wanted to get started. So I think what I'm trying to give to people out there is if you're a person out there that doesn't have a ton of money, doesn't get started, maybe, a lot of times we know that families and places, people get set up different ways. Let's say you're somebody that's just starting out. You're the beginning family, or you're a family that's trying to save, maybe they're trying to upsize, or maybe they're starting to think they're in their 30s, late 20s, early 30s. We always say 40s was when people usually start. And it seemed like that's kind of late, right? Does it seem like it's late to you?
I think so. You really should be starting in your 20s.
Yeah.
And, as I said before, if you can start when you get that first job, because imagine, graduating from high school and all of a sudden you're working full time, or college and working full time, all of a sudden that seems like just a ton of money. And, so that's a great time to start saving 10%, because you're not going to be living off of that 10%.
Yeah. And I think that for me, I started late, I feel. I started thinking about this stuff when I was in my mid 30s. And you always kick yourself because, you always feel like you're late to the game or something. You're late to starting. And I didn't think about doing any type of investment or anything. And I feel like I waited too long. But the people out there, maybe they have more information now where they don't have to wait too long to get started. And I think that's where people need to understand.
A lot of the information's out there, I'm sure. But like he was saying before, there's so many resources out there that at the end of the day, you either get it or you don't. And I think it's just a hard concept for somebody in their 20s to be that mature wise. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Well, you got a lot of people making YouTube videos and stuff. And I mean, they're making a lot of money with that. They got a lot of people out there that are learning how to just invest in different ways. And it seems like at a younger generation, because you have everything at your fingertips. You have all this data, you have all the computers. And so it seems like there's younger people making a lot more money these days. But also, are they setting it up for success, or is it they're making it and then they're trying to reinvest, which everybody takes risk. But, what is your thoughts? I mean, is there a younger generations right now?
What's your experience with that?
I do find young people from time to time who come into my office and they just want to get started, or a parent will drag their kid in, kicking and screaming. Right. And, it's kind of interesting.
That's how it should be.
Yeah. And the parent will say, okay, we're going to open a Roth IRA for you. I'll put in $500 if you do $100 a month.
Yeah.
And okay, the kid gets started, and then all of a sudden they start reading their statements and like, well, I'm making money. Mm-hmm. Well, that's kind of cool, and I'm not doing anything.
Yeah.
So, one thing I really think is you need professional advice. Finding a financial advisor, I always recommend a certified financial planner. That's kind of the top designation in our industry. And, find someone who's going to be a fiduciary, who's going to tell you what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people out there who call themselves financial advisors, but they're commission-only products. And watch out, turn around, run away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Brett, I know that you deal with a lot of, do people ever come to you, man, and we're just like, hey, do you have somebody that can help me with, when you're buying those investment properties, do you have somebody that can
Well, if they're buying investment, they usually have somebody they're working with already and stuff like that, because
what do you think?
They're a little more seasoned.
Do you think right now is a good time to buy an investment property?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, the one problem that I know it's out there, I only had one buyer come across this problem, which is it wasn't going to be owner occupied. And the way that was you.
Yeah.
With Colleen.
Yes.
That was you. So you remember about they were going to charge as like an investor.
Yeah.
The percent. So they were getting charged higher percentage being a second property because they were looking at it as an investor because of COVID.
Right.
What kind of rates are they looking at?
What was that for the investment?
For the investment, I mean, it depends, because a lot of people don't understand that it's about risk and profit. Obviously they had really good credit, so they were in a good position, but we're still hovering like the low threes. So I don't know. I think it was still good for an investment. Yeah, low to mid threes. I mean, but you look at it, it's more of, is it a good strategic time to do that? And I don't know. Everybody wants to time out things. They want to time out the stock market.
I think the market's still escalating and it's going to continue. So in that fact alone, I think is a good time to buy.
Yeah.
I mean, and overall interest rates are super low. Even like take that scenario and the interest rates not being as low as they are, those would be even higher.
What do you think about the stock market here, Mike? You think the stock market's something to invest in, or is it just because, Brett, look, you do this every day. I mean, I'm not saying you're a trader.
I don't do it for a living.
I wouldn't put in.
So there's a huge difference. So
Right.
Listen, I babysat my nephews and nieces a couple of times. That I'm not a better parent than my brother.
No, but you look at it and you're like, there's some opportunity, and I think you kind of go a little bit more for.
I just find it fascinating that I can make money off my money. That's something like I was raised in a family that was blue collar and there was paycheck to paycheck, and then I started. First, I had to get to a point where I could relax a little bit and take my foot off the gas and be able to be like, okay, what do I start doing now that I'm starting to accumulate a little bit? And then I was just fascinated by the idea of like 3 years ago when I started trading, or when I first got interested in stocks, I didn't even know how to read a ticker symbol. I didn't know what any of it was. It's all self-taught. And it was just out of pure curiosity of, wow, I can sit there and just make money off my money without having to.
So
it really
that's kind of something to think about. You can work for money, or money can work for you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. And eventually you want to be having your money work for you.
Yes.
Now you can't start off that way. You got to work for money.
What if somebody comes to you? If somebody comes to you though and says, "I want to invest in the stock market, right? And I want to double my money." Is that something that you would want to put? Right?
I want to double my money.
How does that happen?
I would say I have some snake oil for you too, man.
Yeah, honestly, if they came in with those expectations, I'd say, this is not.
I'm not the
Do
right
you
guy
have
for
people
you.
come in like that though? They think right away, financial planner. What am I going to do? I'm going to just do nothing but
Let me give you an
compound
example
my money.
with that comment. Bernie Madoff, he was allowed to get away with for as many years.
Yeah.
By doing what, even 10% or 11% return? Was it?
The thing is, he made those numbers up.
Of course, but that's what I'm saying is even the numbers he made up, 10% is a high number.
Yeah.
So if someone comes in and says 50%, but that's how off the charts unreal that is.
Right. Oftentimes, I need to set expectations and tell people
Just
what's
like you
reasonable.
do, just like I do.
Yeah.
I mean, I had somebody come in. They had a couple $1 million, and they wanted like $200,000 a year income off that. I'm like, well, that's taking 10% out a year. Wow.
Yeah, that's a big return. Yeah.
And
Why don't you go ahead and day trade that? Let me know how that goes.
and so we had to have a real, come to
Hard
Jesus
thought.
moment and say, okay, that's not reasonable.
Yeah.
Okay. So setting expectations is always important.
It is important. Thank you for watching an episode of the French Workbench podcast. If you want to tune into past episodes, please subscribe to my channel now. Also, if you want to look at our audio-only options, we do have iTunes and SoundCloud.